everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror. My name is Kevin L. Powers. I am the owner-operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and welcome to our special 100th episode. And to celebrate for our 100th episode, we are talking about one of my favorite films of all time, and my guests today are going to be very enthusiastic about talking about this film, which is James Cameron's Alien. So with me today to talk about this amazing film on our 100th episode, and because we are doing this a special 100th episode, because we are very proud of the fact that we've been around this long, and why not celebrate it with one of the best action horror films ever made? And so to talk about this amazing film today, I have Sarah and Ryan Panazzo, and they are very enthused to talk about this film, as I am. So thank you, too, for joining us on this special 100th episode of the show.
100. Yeah. It's only my third, though. Does that count? I think that works, right?
And I know you said this is like one of the greatest horror action movies of all time, but it's like one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah. Yep.
It is almost perfect for a whole story, story-wise. It's almost 100% perfect.
I would believe that the original cut, not so much the director's cut.
Correct.
Yes.
Original cut is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Director's cut, or the movie cut, the theatrical cut is
movie cut.
Shut up.
So, for everyone out there who has not listened to the podcast before, or have listened to it but don't know everyone who's on our special guest, Ryan loves to talk about our action horror films. He previously was on Predator, and I can't remember the other one, but
Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers. Of course, action horror films. And Sarah has been on a lot of our podcasts talking about all the other typical horror.
Just a few.
Pretty much every other episode.
So I could talk, you know, the thing about this movie and it being my 100th episode, what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to go through and analyze this film. So I did not rewatch this film like I normally do for the podcast. What I am doing from this one is going for my 30 or 40 years. I don't know when this movie was released, but 30 or 40 years worth of watching this film. And
86. So we will be at 40 years
next year.
So almost 40 years worth of watching this film. And I have probably religiously watched this film at least once every 2 to 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So this is a film I've seen a lot of times. I've just never watched it critically. I've always watched it as just being this amazing film, and I didn't get into all the minutiae of the film itself. So it's going to be really interesting for me to talk about it. So I have to know, both of you, what are your impressions of this film? Because I'm going to assume that everyone out there has seen Aliens. I'm not going to assume that there is someone out there who has not seen this movie.
They're missing out.
They're missing out.
As is tradition, Sarah has 14 pages of notes, and I was doing Red Bull shooters in the garage, so I'll lead off. This is an awesome movie, right? It's a good movie. There's like aliens and space marines and androids and
They prefer different terms, but we can go
artificial
to that later.
human or artificial person. I'm sorry, right? But yeah, no, hey, it's a great movie. It's just at face value. It's another one of those movies that properly intertwines different genres and does it all so well that it just comes out on the end of a good movie. That's, you can tell they had fun making it. The group of Colonial Marines, they're grab assing the whole time, and you can only fake so much of that. And
I mean, the fact that a bunch of them went on to do further movies together really shows the closeness that they had. They actually, while they were filming, went through most of the movie, but then they went and filmed the intro scenes for meeting all the Marines last. So they did actually have the camaraderie. Which is very cool because it's kind of hard to fake at the beginning of filming, but by the end, when you're that tight, they spent a lot of time together on this.
See what I mean? She has notes. I did Red Bull shooters. We're good.
But no.
What are your impressions of the movie, Sarah?
So I only watched it for the first time in the last couple years. I was not big on The biggest sci-fi thing I watched growing up was probably X-Files. I don't know if my dad had just never seen Alien or if that was too creepy for him, but I had never gotten around to it until this guy made me watch both of them. And the first one lives rent-free in my head, nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie. It is basically perfect. I love the cast. I love the prosthetics. It's gorgeous. This one I love as well, but it's so different compared to the first one. Where the
Yes.
first one is it's like The Thing. You're sitting there waiting for things to happen, whereas this, it's very much a war action movie,
Mm-hmm.
which I know isn't up some people's alleys, but the way that it ties in with like Ripley, who is very anti-gun in the movie and in real life, really ties together with the story as you see these evolution of characters and everything else going on. So I think it's really well done.
All right, so my story is going to be a really wild story about when I first saw this movie. I was introduced to this movie via my older brother because he had seen the first movie. I had no idea about this movie when it originally came out. So he had seen the first movie because he had seen the trailer for this one, and he was dying to see this one at the theater, which I cannot remember if he did or didn't, but I'm pretty sure he did. So our entire family sat down and we watched the first movie before the movie came out, before the second one came out at the theater. I liked the first movie. I didn't think it was great because I was a kid. It's a little slow for me.
Yeah.
But the night the week this movie came out on VHS, because I'm old guys, VHS, my family rented it. We were all hyped to see the damn movie. But unfortunately or fortunately for me, our double feature that night was Aliens and David Cronenberg's The Fly.
Oh my gosh.
So you can imagine how really weird that evening came to be. So I'm watching this, and we're watching this as a family too. So we're watching this Aliens as a family. We're all hyped up. We're watching the crap. Oh yeah, this is fucking great. I almost immediately wanted to see this movie again. I loved this movie so much. And then of course I ended up watching The Fly afterwards. And that whole night, my whole brain was fucked up because
I was gonna say your entire life started right there, Kevin.
I get it.
Because they are so vastly different. Because when we watch these, my mother loves horror movies, so she was expecting Aliens to be a horror movie, not an action horror war movie. So she was like, "What the hell is this that we're watching?" So, but me, I was like, "Oh my god, this is the coolest movie ever!" And then we watched The Fly, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" But coming out of that, both of these movies, no matter how, my brain was fucked up. Aliens became my all-time favorite action horror sci-fi film. So much so that I actually started going out there buying action figures, buying all the comic books that were being made by Dark Horse. I shit you not, I still have most of my comics from Dark Horse in regards to Aliens, and I still read that shit even today.
I know you do.
Yeah, you probably read some of my reviews. That's the thing about this. This movie, not the first one. This is the one that made an effect on me as a kid in '86 when I saw this. And from then on, even though there have been bad alien films, for me, they're like Godzilla films. There's not really a bad one. There's just one that's just not as entertaining as the other ones.
Well, and see, I've had the opposite experience where I think I was more introduced.
You're not going to start talking bad about Godzilla.
No. Okay. I was more introduced to like starting with Prometheus and Covenant.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, they didn't piss me off as much as a lot of the fanboys got pissed off, because I was like, this is some interesting like world building, and I kind of enjoy it. Plus, it's like a great cast. And then you go back and rewatch these, and you're like, man, the way any of this ties together is so crazy.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is, between the first Alien and Aliens, you know, Ridley Scott, who did not originate the screenplay for this, really hated what James Cameron had done with his film. Yes. Mostly because a lot of the stuff in his film, the first one, was cut out. So no one ever really knew some of the stuff that he was trying to do in the first film because it was cut out. You can watch it in the director's cut now, but it was cut out. I think James Cameron improved the concept of the first film. Even though there was stuff that was missing. I think he improved it and expanded on it, especially with the introduction of the Xenomorph Queen. I think they got a little bit crazy when they started doing the alien hybrid monsters and the other ones.
Yeah.
They took it a step too far sometimes.
They tried to come up with something new, but it just didn't work nearly as well. But this one here, because of the basic like ant colony mentality of the aliens, it was a brilliant stroke of genius. And the fact that they didn't tell people and it just showed up at the end, like the last act, was a what the moment. I was like, dude, this is awesome.
Because going into it, you're not expecting that at all. Like you're expecting like a single alien again, and then you're like, okay, well, there's 4 face huggers, 2 of them are dead, and then they keep making comments of, well, there's so many people here. That would mean that there is a ton of face huggers. And where are they? And there's just so much leading up to it that you're like, these people can't just disappear.
Well, the great thing about this movie is there's early mention at, well, who's laying these eggs? Well, but then you never hear anything else.
Right. Yeah, it's just an offhanded remark.
It's an offhanded remark. And then by the time you get to the end and you see the queen is like like I said, a what the fuck moment. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
And these moments like this, and it's hard for me to get surprised by movies nowadays. So because everything is so done already. I will like to have to mention that A24, the company, has done some amazing jobs with giving me some more what the fuck moments in movies. But it's really hard to do that in the movie nowadays and be shocked. But there's a lot of that in this movie.
Yeah, and that's what I really like is that the aliens can always hide in the background. Like, based on whatever camera shot, it might be a small movement or the entire screen shifts because you are literally looking at the entire back of the alien and you thought it was part of the ship. So it's brilliant how they can hide them in plain sight and everything else that they do. I mean, the whole ceiling scene is just genius.
Yes, it is. But I'm going to go back to one other scene that, because it ties in what you've already said, is that the sequence where and this is before people were using a lot of this, is the video, is the camera video footage.
Yeah.
The whole sequence with the Marines when they're in that whole cavern looking for the survivors. And that scene right there where they're watching this video footage, and that's how you see all the information that's being fed to the audience and to the characters of Chaos. It's like, dude, those are some suspenseful moments. Extremely, because he could have just not used the video footage and actually had you in there for the entire sequence. But that's not what you have. You have a mixture of it, and it's keeping you on the edge of your seat. Even though it's an action movie, you're still caught on the edge of your seat because he still wants to retain those suspenseful horror film moments.
Absolutely.
And the sequence that you just mentioned now in the ceiling is another one that nobody had any idea of.
Because you're sitting there and you're like, they're getting closer, and like having come from the future to come back and watch this in the past, you're like, yeah, obviously they're going to be in vents or the ceiling or something. But like back then, like, what were you expecting?
So, Ryan, when did you see this movie?
So I think the first time I saw it, I was 12 or 13 years old. Or early 2000s. It had to be another sci-fi channel expedition, and I'm like, hey, that's really cool, right? Because like every teenager, very very into the military and alien movies and stuff like that.
It's Bill Paxton. I mean, it's Bill Paxton. How can you?
It's the guy from Twister.
Yeah, and you've got Michael Biehn, and you've got Lance Henriksen, and it's just like one after the other.
Yeah, and then it was a really good cast. Like I said, I enjoyed the camaraderie they had. And even Sarah was doing her research and she found some. It's kind of like an allegory to the Vietnam War, and I think I picked up on that because my generation, those were the guys. Those were the World War II guys of my dad's era. So I really liked it, and the the M45 pulse rifle.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want one of those. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, apparently, like after the movie came out, they actually, some companies did make actually similar looking pulse rifles based on the guns that they had actually used. But yeah, and people started wanting like the loaders and everything like that. Like people wanted these things
cool.
custom made
Yeah.
for actual working. And I was like, that's fantastic.
Well, James, I don't know if he still has it, but James Cameron had one of the loaders from this movie in his front yard for a long time.
Yeah.
His front yard.
I think they said that it stayed in his front yard until they reused it in one of the other movies or something like that.
That's the most James Cameron thing I've ever heard of.
He's kept the same, I think the same apparatus from Avatar as well.
Okay, the amp suit, yeah.
Yep. Well, the thing is, he helps design, because he's an engineer, so he helps design all of this stuff, and which is also amazing because he's designing this shit that no one else has ever seen before.
Yeah.
Didn't he design the sub that went down to the Titanic?
Yeah.
So they can get research.
Yeah, he did that, and he did all the research for the Abyss in order to do all that. First person to shoot the 3D in actual underwater sequence.
Yeah, I mean, when they were doing the most recent avatars, he helped them create brand new lights that could function underwater.
He did all that. That's why it took him so long. He was, I mean, watching his movies, and I can say this for pretty much all of his movies, actually. The reason why they're so good, and so in my opinion, they are really good. Doesn't matter if it's the weaker film, and everybody wants to call it Avatar, the Fern Gully movie. Fuck Fern Gully. Fern Gully ain't got shit on fucking Avatar. His movies, he puts so much research into his movies, and he designs everything. It doesn't look like it's a throwaway design, or it doesn't look like something that feels like clutter in the background. Everything in his films feel like it has a purpose, and that's what helps with this film. Everything has a purpose.
Yeah,
and the way he does it, crossing both lines of that, is so well done. So like the giant guns that Vasquez and Drake had, those were on like Steadicam arms, so that they could adapt them to their bodies and carry them around. And then like the laser at the beginning, where it's basically just like a robo crane with a freaking laser beam on it. I'm like, this is genius.
Smart gun. I had a brain fart. It was the smart gun.
But yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of things where he like butt heads with a lot of the crew in the UK because he was very hands-on. He knew what lights he wanted where, so he would go and do them. Against union rules, but like he is one of those like full artists that he knows exactly what he wants and what he's doing. And the way that they were able to do like the creature designs just based on stuff that he was saying and thinking and wanting is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, they had to come up with a whole new design for the Queen. That thing didn't exist beforehand.
It was a really good design too.
Yeah.
He said he wanted a praying mantis and T-Rex hybrid. He didn't want it to be a dinosaur because dinosaurs were big then, but he was like, this is the best thing the closest thing I can think of. And he wanted something hideous and beautiful at the same time, like a black widow spider.
Oh, nice.
We have some of those in the garage.
So I was like, that matches perfectly, because I stopped it and I was like, she's got like the awesome headdress. Like it's very like primal. Like you would see like a queen in Egypt wearing this. And then I was like, she looks like a giant spider. It's beautiful.
It is, and it's one of the great contributions that he gave to the film. The franchise, I won't even say film, the franchise, because it's been used in like most of all the sequels. A queen of some type.
It's just the puppeteering and the way they had to make it work is a freaking marvel.
Yeah, I've seen some of those, some of that whole behind the scenes stuff before, especially on my big box set. For everyone out there, I don't usually watch all the behind the scenes stuff, but because I got the huge quadrilogy set for this one, I've seen a ton of the behind the scenes stuff, but this is all old stuff. They've done newer stuff for this quadrilogy. Mine was from the older version. I still need to upgrade so I can see some of this newer stuff. And of course, for those of you out there who know about the Aliens Expanded experience, you can go out there and get this massive documentary where they interview most the entire cast and do a whole bunch of stuff with the film Aliens. It is worth checking out if you're a huge fan. All right, so I want to get some more impressions of you two from this film because I don't want to dominate all the stuff when I was growing up watching this damn movie.
I can do a good Robin Williams. I can break out Arnold Schwarzenegger. What kind of impression do you want?
No,
here?
not those kinds.
Not those kinds?
Not those guys. Not those guys.
Into the wrong podcast. Damn.
Oh my God. So, Ryan, does it work for you as a really good war film? Because until now, you know what, when you mentioned Vietnam, the closest I could think of a film, a war film that this would come really close to would be Platoon, with the way that the way that the soldiers are in both. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. I always thought of this as a war film, but I couldn't give a reference for any type of war film until now.
Yeah, as far as your traditional war film, no, but I think they take the top cover off. And again, you have all those elements. You know, you have Lieutenant Gorman, who's your college boy. He's brand new. You know, he's sweaty. He's nervous. He's very
and he's done everything training and by the book, but he has no idea real world experience.
Yeah, no real world experience. He's an idiot. You know, you've got the cigar chomping, salty old Sarge Apon, right? L. Matthews. Right. And then just like I said, you get the ragtag group of idiots that they're, you know, in charge of who are writing on their helmets and their gear. And how do I get out of this chicken shit outfit? And it's fabulous. And then, of course, you know, the themes of the dwindling party and suddenly, oh, this is going to be easy. Another bug hunt. Ooh and ah. And hey, they're surrounded, and oh gee, the bodies are stacking up. So yeah, it's a great war movie, without actually being about any sort of war.
Yeah, it was funny because he always told me when we were watching it that it was semi based on Vietnam, and Cameron actually did say that out loud, and he actually gave each of the characters backstories. He wanted them. They each wrote their own stuff on their costumes, so we noticed little things like, what's his name? Froth has Heath on his chest. And I was like, oh, maybe he's gay, but apparently it's short for Heather. He just ran out of room to write the rest of his girlfriend's name, who he was dating at the time while filming.
It's a very common thing to do, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bill Paxton wrote his girlfriend's name at the time, Louise, on his. Everybody had their own personal things other than Michael Biehn, because he replaced a guy a week and a half before filming.
James Remar, I think, if I remember correctly.
So. But it was funny because to get inspired for the movie, Cameron gave them all their own little backstories. So you have Drake and Vasquez, who I thought were an item, but apparently they grew up together as jail brats, and joined this. But he had them all read Spaceship Troopers so they could get used to being Starship Troopers. Sorry. So they could all get used to being Space Marines. And I was like, that makes so much more sense because there's so many lines from Paxton about in the bug fight or we're going to go bug hunting. And I was like, wait, there's bugs now and aliens? What did I miss?
No, that makes so much sense to reference Starship Troopers, because I would have never thought about that. That makes a lot of what he says make sense, because the one problem I always had with this film is that his character always references a bug hunt. And so there are other types of aliens that they have been up against. And it does not seem from their reactions to the Xenomorph that any of them have ever seen another alien before. That makes that makes everything he says makes much more sense. It's just a kind of a reference to Starship Troopers.
Either that or they're playing Helldivers, 40 years before it came out. I don't know. This is James Cameron. He probably thought of it and said, "Oh, it's not going to make money." I don't know.
James Cameron was probably making reference to one of his favorite books. It's actually a really good book, but yeah.
The movie is great satire, and we could definitely do that one at another time. But it's a really good book.
We will have to put that one on. That's not on the list.
It needs to be on the list. It's horror adjacent.
It definitely is. Aliens killing, ravaging, and killing a lot of people. Yeah, that should definitely be on the list. That's essentially the same one as this is right here. So the other aspect of this is the horror aspect. With you, Panazzo, I would like to ask you, regarding the horror aspect of the films, Sarah, Did I just call you Panazzo again? I'm so used to just saying Panazzo.
I know. It's fine. I'm Panazzo. You're Ryan.
Yeah.
There you go. So Sarah, regarding the horror aspects of the film, do you think that they actually work really well in this film and give a couple of major key points? Because the people listening to this I'm hoping they've all seen the movie. But we're talking about some of the key elements that make this film as memorable and amazing as it is.
Yes, 100%. I mean, you start off with almost right where the movie left off, and you get this insane PTSD flashback that you're like, what the hell is happening? How is our hero going already? And then you know it's a dream. And that chestburster scene, the first time you watch it, is absolutely horrifying because you are rooting for her the entire time. But then, like you said earlier, with them watching through the screens and everything else like that, like the horror of she is on the ship away from this ragtag team the entire time almost until they finally go back to save them all, and then they're all reunited. So there is that separation of the group splits up. Mm-hmm. Everybody starts getting picked off one by one. I mean, even the little helicarrier gets taken out before they can even do anything.
Dropship.
Whatever. Like I said, the ceiling scene is genius. The aliens hiding in the background in certain scenes. I mean, all of the face huggers in general are just terrifying because you never know where they're going to come from.
So one of the sequences I absolutely loved in this film, and because you mentioned the face huggers, is the one in which Sigourney Weaver's Ripley and Newt are trapped in the room, and of course they have to battle the face huggers that's been released in there by Burke. In the midst of them prepping to be eventually probably assaulted by the aliens and or trying to get the drop. This is a drop ship to come down to them. There is a subplot because the military always has its own little subplot. In James Cameron's films, military is not an altruistic entity in any of his movies, except for probably True Lies. And even then, it's a secret government agency.
The Omega Sector.
But yes, with this film, that whole sequence there, it makes the face huggers seem extremely dangerous, like
horrifying.
Yes. Yeah. In context of all of it, it is terrifying that he wanted to get them infected and impregnated essentially with the chestbursters to bring back to Earth for them to have. And the only way he knew if he could get them on a ship and through security was inside a person. And I know that they kind of expand on that in what's the latest one? Romulus. Kind of expands on that like feminine body horror just a bit more, which I thought was really interesting and well done. But I mean, like, you get so much body horror in this where like Ripley's crying in the nightmare, like, kill me, because she knows what's going to happen. And then she literally sees a woman attached to the wall who is saying the exact same thing. And she knows what's going to happen. There's that horror of nobody believes her because she was just a scientist or whatever. And by the time they do believe her and listen to her, it's way too late.
She was a flight officer for Weyland-Yutani. God, Sarah.
You can't see the audience. You can't see the faces that they do with each other, but I can definitely see the faces.
I'm having a great time. She wants to kill me.
Oh my god. So I'm trying to think of another great sequence that happens with, because other than the one where Newt is trapped in what is that place that she's trapped at? When she falls through the grate into it's not like a sewer system.
It's kind of like a sewer, yeah. Like
See, and I don't know if it's really supposed to be a sewer system or if it was like a working hallway, because at that point the reactor is reacting.
Yeah.
So everything's
level.
Yeah, so everything's overloading. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's all flooding as a whatever. I mean, you get the bright red pipes and everything like that from everything else overheating. There's so much going wrong at the same time.
Yeah, but that sequence there is, and they do this a lot with the Newt and Ripley character, mostly because it's not only building the relationship between these two characters, but it's helping to I hate to say this, put a child in danger to create suspense.
Well, and it worked really well for her background story, which is what I know she was very upset about that they cut from the movie. And it makes so much more sense with the movie because a lot of people have said that Alien is about protecting yourself, whereas Aliens was about protecting somebody else. But yeah, there's so much. I love the maternal relationship there from both of them losing either a mother or a child in their life and then finding each other at this moment where they're needing it the most. And you can see that relationship blossom, and it's just so well done.
Yeah, unfortunately they ruined it in the Alien 3 movie, but in this movie this relationship is very strong. For anyone out there who wants to know more, you can always check out the comic book versions of this because they have done a direct sequels to the movies, this movie, and a direct sequels featuring her daughter,
Amanda.
Yeah, so it's the one that we hear about in the director's cut.
Also, the video game Alien Isolation.
Yes, which is amazing.
Crap your pants and cry yourself to sleep. Play that game. The first-person horror movie. It's survival horror. I played about 20 minutes. The alien showed up. I turned it off, never to return.
Yeah, it like listens to your microphone and everything, so you can't even like talk while you're playing this game.
Aliens are like, they got their own AI. It's like, I wonder if he's hiding underneath the table. And I'm like, oh, hi, yeah.
So that's the other thing. I think that had this been another straightforward horror sequel, I don't think it would have been nearly as successful and or as longevity with this franchise as this film has made it, because it bent so many different genres into one. It could have easily just been another, and for everyone out there listening, horror sci-fi films almost never turn a profit. They're like, they're never successful. This was one of the rare ones. And then it spawned off to multiple different types of franchise sequels that each had different elements in them based on the director. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but for this film, it was definitely a good thing, because when Ridley Scott came back to do Prometheus, the results were nothing but mixed, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was a waste of a movie of mine.
I think Covenant was a waste of a movie. Prometheus had some good aspects to it.
Yeah.
I thought all the scares and kills in them were like really good, because I went in not knowing anything. Not until like
funny to me.
So I like watching Romulus. I was like, okay, this kind of makes sense. I kind of know what's going on.
Romulus was pretty good.
That was straight up body horror. I hate that.
Romulus, I thought, was nothing new. It was well done. It was nothing new, and the only sequence I hated and liked at the same time was when they lost the anti-gravity and the xenomorph's blood was floating everywhere, and these people are dodging it. I'm like,
So that is my biggest problem with Aliens. The freaking carelessness and recklessness of all of them with acid blood. Like, no matter what, like, they can see, like, oh, something dripped through here. So they immediately look up into the dripping, like, condensation or water where it could be acid. And then they're constantly, like, blowing up aliens and crap and spraying each other with acid because they just can't get it through their head that it's acid.
America.
Yes, but it does affect a lot of the people in this film.
It does. They take out a lot of their own guys just by pure stupidity.
Space America.
But in the subsequent movies, it's like logic. They said, well, acid's supposed to kill them or burn you, but that costs too much money, so we're just
it'll be fine.
Like, there was even a part I was like, she ran it over with the car. Like, is it gonna be taken out? Does the car have acid damage? Yeah. Is it going to be dead now?
It did.
No, she just broke the axle.
Well, he's not a mechanic. He's a Marine.
I know.
Oh, shit. Maybe it's some type of special alloy that the acid doesn't burn through.
Yeah. Space General Dynamics hooked them up.
Well, you bring up a valid point. I mean, the acid for blood thing, which in the first movie was something surprising, different, added a special, different type of element. In this film, you get through it really fast when a lot of the soldiers get the acid on them when they're trying to kill them when they're stuck in that one section.
Yeah,
and then of course, what's Vasquez's
Drake
for
her blue thing.
When he gets all the acid blood on him, I don't think it happens again really, or is it Gorman? I think Gorman's the other one.
No, Paxton gets some on him when they like kick the Vasquez doesn't get it on.
She gets it on her foot
near the end. Yeah. But yeah, Bill Paxton gets it when they like are trying to shove the head through the door and it like explodes onto him and burns into his arm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's so much blatant disrespect for the use of acid in this movie. And like, I love that they kept it real to the point that like every time it would have happened, it did. Because otherwise it's like, what's the point of them having acid for blood if they're gonna be shooting them and blowing them up everywhere and it's spraying everywhere?
Well, the first film didn't know they were going to be doing this second film with the war movie. First film, it has its great moments. It creates suspense and all that type of stuff because you don't know how to react to this because it's fucking acid for blood. This film, I'm perfectly fine with this one. It wasn't really until Romulus I thought this is fucking stupid. Cool sequence. Don't get me wrong. It's cool as shit. I was like, this is fucking stupid. This is what I said. That movie was well done, but then it has sequences where I was like, this is cool as shit, but it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But this film, it does a great job with the cast as well. We've mentioned most of it. Actually, I think we've mentioned most of the cast of this film. And most movies like this with such a huge ensemble cast, they're usually easily throwaway characters that we don't remember any of them. But in a very short amount of time, Cameron gives us, the audience, a look into each one of these characters before they actually do die.
Yeah, they all seem like real people. They're not just caricatures or whatever else. They've all got some kind of history or background that you can see, whether through their armor and how they've marked it up or how they work with each other. So it was really well done with the way that he did those backstories. Yeah, you actually care about a lot of these characters after not knowing them at all.
I think one of the funniest moments for any of these soldiers is when Michael Biehn's character, when they were told they can't use their rifles in there because it might start a fucking explosion, brings out his shotgun. And I was like, that's a soldier for you. He's old school. And even in the future, this dude has a shotgun as a backup weapon.
You don't?
Well, the fact that a lot of them, like, who was it? Vasquez, like, pulls one, like, the piece that she removed out of, like, her bra and gives one to Drake as well. And it's like, yep, they know what's going on.
That was really handy, like, future advertising for Jeanette Goldstein.
Yeah. I love her. She's a wonderful human.
She's got her Jeanette bras. I'm wearing one right now. All right. Oh, provides ample support for the boys.
The alphabet starts with D.
That's right. Shameless plug. I paid top dollar for this.
Yeah, I wish she'd been able to get the opportunity to be in more films and not just like a cameo in like Terminator 2. Because I really like her as an actress, but
yes,
she was never given. Because she's done other stuff, but she's never given a role as meaty as that role was.
Yeah,
sad, Unlike Bill Paxton, who seemed to be in everything.
Yes.
So God bless Bill Paxton. That dude was brilliant, and he was in a lot of freaking James Cameron films, like Michael Biehn. But I think he steals so many films that he's in.
Yeah, I mean, most of the movies you think about, like Twister, you immediately think of him. Near Dark. I mean, there's just so many. Club Dread.
True lies.
Predator 2. Hell, he shows up in Predator 2 as like the complete opposite side of his character here, where here he's a whiny little shit. On the other side, he's an arrogant little shit. And I like them both. It's like, God damn you, Bill Paxton.
And then him in Frailty.
Yep, Frailty.
I
Yeah.
just love
Have you seen True Lies with him in it yet?
Oh my God, that's so. He's
What the
so
hell?
good. He's
We've
so
been married for honey.
I know.
Oh my God, James Cameron did the spy movie. It's a great spy movie that some people may actually think is like a spoof, but it's not, because it's done so well and it's so fucking funny.
It's got this little actor called Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
That's why I haven't seen it.
I'm aware, and we're gonna duct tape you to a chair. I'm gonna give you a straw to sip some drink and a bucket of tea, and we're gonna watch this movie.
Oh my God.
Yes, but his partner is Tom Arnold, and his wife is Jamie Lee Curtis.
How do you know that? And you
I
haven't
know
seen the
that
movie?
part. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis is brilliant in this movie. I've always thought she was great, and she got pigeonholed in a lot of horror movies in her early career. But she has such great comic timing. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, she's fabulous.
Yeah, that's a movie that Ryan. That is an action movie, and it's a James Cameron movie that is not talked about enough. Despite the fact it was a huge box office movie when it originally came out. It's not talked out enough. So
I don't know. I think it is, because I hear about it a lot inside my.
I hear no one talk about it. People will talk about Last Action Hero.
It's me. I'm the problem.
Yeah, he probably talks about Last Action Hero too, being a great movie.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm the great actor, Arnold Braunschweiger. Schwarzenegger. Gesundheit.
Oh, Jesus. Thankfully, Cameron's obsession with Arnold Schwarzenegger was not in this movie. I think the biggest guy.
My God. I don't think I could have watched this movie if he was in it.
It would have been great.
I wouldn't have been able to take it seriously.
Would have been way better.
I don't know. He would have had to be the first one to go.
Can you imagine him showing up as the queen?
Jesus.
What you doing here?
I just want him to be one of the androids.
Put the flamethrower down now.
I want him to be an artificial person.
He could be a Terminator that shows up in this movie.
Oh my God. Aliens versus Terminator.
I don't think they've done that one as a comic book yet. They've had the Aliens versus everything.
Yeah, like Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I want to say they did Terminator versus Predator.
I know Terminator versus Predator is, but not versus Aliens.
They did Terminator versus RoboCop, which is freaking amazing.
Yes, that was it. That was it.
That one, if they wanted to redo make Terminator a viable franchise, make RoboCop a viable franchise, just do that fucking comic book as a movie. Just do that. It's kind of like Aliens. If they wanted a good Aliens movie, they have the Colonial Marines limited series that was amazing. If they just did that as either a television show or a movie, everybody would be in love with Aliens again. But no, they keep making these little freaking weird Prometheus, Covenant, fucking ridiculous shit that we've already seen.
You know about the Noah Hawley one coming to FX this year, right?
Aliens on Earth already saw it in fucking Alien versus Predator. As much as I like him, I am not really interested in that.
Really?
No, I don't.
Didn't Noah Hawley do Fargo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Noah Hawley is so good at copying other people. I really think he's going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, but who's he going to copy off in this one?
I'm with Kevin on this one.
It's like
I just thought of $1 billion idea. You ready?
Yeah.
Colonial Marines, Halo Reach.
Yeah, there you go.
We're sending you to this planet. We lost track of a colony. They get there. Ready? Aliens. Done.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Aliens versus Predator. If they had just done the comic book Aliens versus Predator, it would have been freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
You don't have to create, reinvent the wheel. There is a brilliant comic book called Aliens versus Predator that is amazing.
Oh yeah, and we see that time and time again in movies that have been coming out where they've got a very solid idea, but there's so much corporate shitting on ideas that this is what happens. And I hate micromanagers and I hate working for dictators with a god complex, but James Cameron, I will never discredit because he gets his thought in mind of what he wants to do, and no actor, no producer, no studio exec is going to tell him how not to make $1 billion fucking movie, and he's done it how many times?
Is it 4
3 times?
I think it's
Yeah.
4.
Ridiculous.
I mean,
Is it 4?
I think it's both. Avatars, Titanic.
Terminator.
No, I think those are the three.
I think it was three. But I mean, he's got three of the top 5 most earningest movies in history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, like if that's not a case study and let the director drive the car, I don't know what is.
That was kind of the whole point of this movie too. Is like they're there on a mission to save people and to get in and out. And there comes the company money man who's like, well, actually, this is a bunch of money.
Look at you.
So we need to go and get this thing because that's the important part. You guys are all expendable at the end of the day.
Well, that's the one thing I do like about all of his films. He's not really a government guy. He wants to pick on the fucking government. Like they do bad things in all of his movies, except for like True Lies, where it's a secret government agency.
Do you know who the real villain of Aliens is? Capitalism.
I mean, they decided to throw a bunch of people down on a planet that the last people who went there completely disappeared.
No. Oh, yeah.
Right. Everybody there disappeared, and they were like, well, you know what? That was 57 years ago. It's probably safe now. So they throw a bunch of people there without doing any research or studies, and all of a sudden, oh my God, they all disappear too. And then, oh my God, all these people die who went to go save them. Let's just keep on going.
I'm imagining Bill Hader on Saturday Night Live with, oh, that's awful, eating his popcorn.
Corporate greed, and the what is it called in this movie? Is it just Weyland-Yutani or
Weyland-Yutani? Yep.
Okay, because by the time we get to Prometheus is Alien Resurrection. It's something completely different because that company has folded more or less.
Yeah, it's just Weyland.
Yeah.
And that's something that's frustrating in the movies because, all right, Weyland-Yutani, okay, cool. And then in the first Alien versus Predator, it's just Weyland.
It's just Weyland.
And then at the end of Aliens versus Predator Requiem, we have Yutani, and they get one of the blaster guns or whatever. And then,
so did the company just separate into two, or
I don't fucking know.
It's one of those things that you don't really know. In the movies, they don't do a whole lot with it.
No,
and it's frustrating.
When you read the comic book stories, they go really into that whole the corporate.
Yeah,
and they do a lot of it in the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
So. They're just always in the background, but when it's funny when they finally get to Alien Resurrection, which is I forget how many years into the future.
Oh yeah,
it's like they were a shit show.
Isn't it like 400 years or something ridiculous?
Yeah, Earth is a shit place.
No
one wants to go to Earth anymore.
I haven't seen 3 or 4.
Yeah,
you haven't.
No.
We're working on it.
I don't know if I want to because now I know that Newt and Hicks don't survive.
Yeah, it's got awful.
Like, why would I even want to watch a third one?
I like the third one, but that's because I have read all the stuff that's not in it.
Okay.
David Fincher was that was his first film, and he was.
That was David Fincher.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was really, really a creative genius when he was working on this, but the problem is he was going over budget. And the studio forced him to start cutting the cool shit because they didn't understand what he was trying to do. So if you watch the producer's cut, because there is no director's cut, because David Fincher refuses to go back to this fucking movie, they integrate a lot of the stuff that he had in the script that they cut out. Now, the screenplay has everything in it because it's based on his screenplay. The graphic novel, the original graphic novel, is based on his screenplay. So it has all this stuff in it. So I read all this stuff when it originally came out. And I'm like, I watched the movie, I'm like, well, half the good shit's missing. So the third film has a lot of problems. It's interesting.
It's not bad.
The look is amazing. David Fincher, even on his own film, was a visual genius.
Yes.
Yeah, because I do love him.
Yeah.
He visually amazing, and that's the same with the fourth one. But no one got the fourth one because they hired a fantasy sci-fi director to do it, and so that's what the fourth film is. It is a fantasy sci-fi film that's mixed into the Alien franchise, and it's weird, and people just didn't get it.
Ron Perlman shows up.
Yeah, when I saw Ron Perlman and Winona Ryder were in it, I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. It sounds like a really bad, like 80s, 90s sci-fi TV movie brought to you by Sci-Fi.
Yeah, whoa, hey.
Hey, they had some really good ones, but they also had some really bad ones.
Yeah.
It's a really ingeniously put together film, and it does have Brad Dourif in it, so you can't.
Yeah, Brad Dourif is in it.
But the whole concept of them mixing the genetics of humans with aliens and coming up with the newborn that looks really, really weird, and
it doesn't know. Don't
I
spoil
don't
it.
know. All I can think of is the creepy, like, Slender Man thing from Romulus, which, like I said, that movie is pure woman body terror the entire time, and the horrors of, like, women giving birth and getting pregnant.
What if I told you that is one of the themes of the Alien?
I know. Okay. I know it is. It's all about motherhood, hence this entire movie.
Yeah.
The mother was protecting their young the entire time on both ends.
Yeah.
One of them's just a mass-producing machine that they compared to, like, people who just plop out kids.
And the other one's an alien.
Wow.
Well, there's a little of that in Alien 3, but Alien 3, if it had been the way that David Fincher had wanted it, it would have been more of a religious movie in regards to the religion that the inmates on the island or the prison planet had created and crafted. And then, of course, their god, or the god for some of them, becomes the alien when they first see it.
That would be good.
That's the stuff that's all missing. They didn't get when you watch, dude. It would have been an amazing movie, you know.
Damn it, capitalism.
All of that symbolism is lost to the watcher.
Yeah,
it's all gone. The fourth one is just a fun fantasy movie. It's not like it's got some cool sequences.
The coolest part about the fourth one is that underwater sequence.
It is. That is by far the coolest sequence, and of course that killed the director. Jean, it's French. I can never remember his fucking name, but he did Amélie. He never did another American film after they did this film. They was like, dude, I'm not going back to America. We're gonna go back to France. We're gonna do fucking French movies.
The places we are gone.
They did do their director's cut, which just changes the beginning of the movie, but that's about all they changed.
Crazy.
But as you can see, with this film, and I don't know if you watched the direct. Have you seen the director's cut for one?
No.
Okay. Okay. So Ryan, you've seen the director's cut. Panazzo, you haven't seen it, but there are the sequences that they add in the director's cut for this. I don't think adds a whole lot. It's like just makes the film a little longer.
Yeah.
I know it was just the one scene adding Ripley losing her daughter. Is like one of the main ones that was in the director's cut that actually adds more to the story and makes a lot more sense about the mother-daughter relationship. But outside of that, yeah, I don't think there was.
The other battle sequence was because when the aliens first attack them when they're holed up into the office, there's a whole sequence for that, but it doesn't add anything for me. It really doesn't. You cut it out and you don't even realize it's missing.
There was one more scene with Burke that I did read about that explains more about how he was the one to send all the colonists over there, but then how he also convinced the board or whatever to have them go looking for the alien. They were originally just going to leave it and call it quits.
And you just reminded me of the sequence with Newt and her parents. You get to see her parents before. That was also in the movie too. I actually prefer the theatrical cut. I've only seen the director's cut like twice. I've seen the original theatrical cut many times. It's the cut I prefer. It's kind of like Alien. I don't really care for the director's cut of that at all. I don't care for the stuff that was cut out. I don't think it adds anything. Well, it does add. I don't think it doesn't add good shit. It doesn't add good shit, you know. I prefer the original cut, the theatrical cut to that, which is rare. A lot of times I prefer the director's cut to the theatrical cut, but you know, actually, you know, a lot of times I prefer the theatrical cut over the director's cut. Donnie Darko director's cut is horrible. They should not have explained the shit for Donnie Darko. It does not to be explained. So I'm trying to think of any other things with this movie that we have to discuss. because we've gotten through a lot. We've talked about all.
Yeah, I mean, all of the special effects, whether it's with the lighting stuff or mechanical stuff, or even like the creature designs themselves and how they've revamped from a giant garbage bag to being a giant puppet with all the bells and whistles. They just keep getting bigger and better as the movies go on.
In the first one, was the alien that much of a problem solver like they are in this one?
It was smart.
It was smart. I remember it ambushed Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
and it could hide.
And it knew how to hide well.
Yeah.
But because it was just one, I don't think we knew what to expect.
Okay.
No.
I mean, it knew how to hide in the escape pod with her basically without being seen.
Yeah. So it was smart.
But yeah, I mean, like they're smart enough in this one where they turn off the lights. They know how to keep completely still to throw off the trackers and go through the ceiling vents and everything else like that. So, I mean, they are an intelligent species. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. Plus, they've also been there a lot longer than the group has. So they explore the hell out of that place by going through ceilings and vents and everything like that. I don't think there's any film where they just roam freely through everything. I think it's an instinct to hide in small places. I don't even think they've ever done that really in any of the comic books. They hide. They hide. They're almost like little cockroaches. They only come out at night.
That's what he said the entire time. They're space cockroaches.
Space cockroaches.
Space cockroaches. They're oh my god. Oh my god. All right. So Ryan, anything else you'd like to say about Aliens?
Oh no.
Yes, he would love to keep talking forever and ever and ever.
I could, man. I could really get down into like just the nitty-gritty details of how they did an actionized sequel right. And Cameron would go on and do it again with Terminator 2, where you have this first movie. It's a lot slower. It's much more survival horror, if you will. And then the actionized sequel that, in my opinion, is far better. I love the Roanoke colony vibe of this place, where one of the first things they see is a neon sign that says bar. That alone is, hey, that's a human touch. That's the people live here. That was awesome. But yeah, I could go on and on. This could be a 4-hour podcast, and I wouldn't repeat the same thing twice. So that solid movie.
If I ended up talking and going on tangents for all the other films and comic books, graphic novels and books and all that other shit, this definitely would be a really long one. Even if I touched upon just the games, it still would be a long one. Because they happen to be the only games I play, the arcade games, when I go to fucking all the places that still have arcade games. So I can't even think of the name of the place now.
Nothing.
I got nothing. It's the
Dave and Buster's.
Dave and Buster's.
Yep.
I still play because they always have an alien game there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's always one of them. Thank God, because it's the only game I ever play is the alien stuff. I like to shoot them up. That's why I say I played most of the games over the course of my lifetime. I have not played them all because I don't own the current game system. I know I'm bad. I'm bad, guys. I don't own the current game system. Yeah, no, I suck. But then again, I've also read all the graphic novels that have to do with aliens, Prometheus, Predator, Terminator. I'm kind of like Dark Horse had like this monopoly on all of them for the longest time. They don't anymore, unfortunately, because Disney/Marvel now has the rights to them.
Right, Bill Paxton is the Disney princess.
You know what? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of great, but I won't shoot him down. We have Romulus, which is trying to go back to what the original franchise was. Thank God, even though I don't think it was a great movie, it's a far cry better film than freaking Covenant was.
Yes.
And then of course they have a television show, which I've been hoping they do a fucking television show for like 40 freaking years. So it's always good to see that. And of course we got Prey, which is fucking brilliant.
Prey was good.
Prey was excellent.
So good.
Love me some Prey.
We just need more creative people to come up with more inventive stories. Now, even though I don't want to see a Aliens Earth, I'm actually really happy that the guy who created Fargo, which is one of my favorite shows, is doing it. So I'm going to watch it because I love to be shocked. And I was shocked by how really well done Fargo is and how much now I like the show better than the movie. So I think the show is actually, and this is hard for me because I've seen Fargo the movie a lot. The show I think is superior to the movie because it's so well done, so good.
It really is so well done. And then the different genres he crossed doing every season of Legion as well. It's just,
I still need to watch that. That's still on my list. I haven't gotten to it yet.
It's so
Dan Stevens.
Oh my gosh.
So, with that, before we end the podcast on Aliens, I need to know what your grade for this film is.
Man.
We do a 1 to 5 star, 1 being, ain't so good, the 5 being, oh, that's good shit. So what each of you put this movie on your spectrum?
Don't know, please.
Okay. I'm going to say it's a 5. Like I said before, it's one of those perfect movies that blends so well and everything kind of falls into place. It's very similar to how Hot Fuzz was kind of thrown together as a bunch of genres, and it works out so well. And it's just a well-flowing movie. There's not really a dead spot that isn't needed. And it's just a fun watch. There's enough comedy in it. There is a lot of realism. I mean, like, you've got this little girl who's like, this isn't a doll. She's a piece of plastic. Like, she's not gonna be brave. But then you've got all the wonderful prosthetics and special effects. And I mean, like, the alien is so well known. Xenomorphs are just so well known in general. The face huggers, all of it, as being like one of the best creatures designed in film. And this expands on it so well with the Queen.
Yep. What about you, Ryan?
Ditto. No, it's Sarah hit the nail on the head. It's a great movie. It's hurt near perfect. You know, we didn't pull a U. We didn't go into this off of memory. We watched it once for entertainment and once more critically. I can't find anything wrong with it. You know, there's nothing that really gets bogged down. There's no useless scenes. You know, you want every scene to be purposeful, and whether it's setting up character building or furthering the plot or setting up a MacGuffin for later, it just knocks it out of the park.
I am going to second both of you. I'm going to give it a 5 too. Not only because I've seen this movie way more times than I probably ever should, and it has influenced me as a storyteller and a filmmaker, and how much I have inundated myself in the whole xenomorph thing. But the reason why I could come back to this film time and time again is that no matter how many times I watch it, I never, ever get bored. If it is in the middle of this film on television, I will stop and watch the rest of this movie. I can watch this film at any moment and just stop and just get, my eyes are always glued to the screen, despite the fact that I already know what's going to happen. It's rare when you find films like this. I'm with you where I think that there is not a wasted moment in this film. Even in the director's cut, those scenes for a lot of people add a lot of actual information for the characters, the backstories, and everything like that. I'm not going to dismiss any of that, but the fact is, this is one of those rare ensemble films where you get to know each and every character.
100%.
Yes.
Where each and every character doesn't feel like a caricature, where some of them actually grow. Goring character grows from the very beginning to the very end when he sacrifices himself with the person who thought he was an idiot. Those type of things are really great for a film like this. It means that you can actually follow all these characters and actually enjoy watching their fates unfold. The android,
yes.
What's his name?
Bishop.
I was about to call him Data, but it's wrong franchise. Bishop.
That's Star Wars.
As played by Lance Henriksen, who is known for being a lot of horror films, is like the most compassionate character in this film. those type of those things adds another level to this film that allows it to reach the heights of being a 5. It is a shame that it never got any major awards.
They were nominated for like 5 or 6, I think, and I think they won 2 of them. One was for like sound effects, and one was for editing.
Which is they always give that to the freaking sci-fi movies. But and you brought up something, Panazzo, about the xenomorph. The xenomorph is one of the most recognized creatures, monsters in film history. Out of all of them, I think this is probably one of the top 5, the most recognized. And this was a complete original creation by H.R. Geiger for the first film. Those things allow this movie to transcend just being a normal monster movie, Yes.
Well, and looking at one of my favorite parts that I'll always point out is how much it's adapted. Like we keep saying, like it started out as like a garbage bag monster. And then it progressed to this giant marionette in this one and hand puppets. And now in Romulus, we have fully automated like RC car face huggers. Like, it's unbelievable how far we've gotten with these creatures to make them as creepy as possible.
Yeah. And and this is the film that utilizes all of the different versions really well. The face huggers, the chest burster, the original xenomorph, and the queen. A lot of these different phases of the xenomorph get kind of glossed over in later films, but this film right here utilizes all of them equally well. So with that, that's what with that, I'm glad we did this as our 100th episode for Conversations in Horror. I want to thank you both, Panazzos, for joining us on this conversation. We got to talk about a favorite of the horror action sci-fi genre, which, like I said before, is not always well done. But this, for everyone out there, is a great example of how you do it right. Just follow the playbook that James Cameron has created for you, and you will never go wrong. With that, I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation in horror. I hope that you go out there and you like, subscribe, do that thing you do with podcasts. We are available on all major podcast apps, Spotify and YouTube. Make sure to check out all of our previous episodes because there are 99 other ones of them, and we have a lot coming up for you for the rest of this year. From all of us at Something Wicked Entertainment, we want to wish you a pleasant day.
Game over, man.
Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.